Today we are talking about AWS Global Infrastructure. If you started learning on AWS and you want to explore more and you want to take it somewhere, you must learn first thing AWS Global Infrastructure. AWS has got massive global infrastructure. Because of that, 1/3 of the businesses on this planet trust on AWS. If you are new here, I am Chris from iCloud Excel. I'm ex-Amazonian. I have spent over 23 years working in IT infrastructure and AWS cloud technologies, including over a decade in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, helping organizations to build solutions on AWS Cloud. On this channel, I help you master on AWS Cloud, DevOps, AI through simple explanations, real-world scenarios, and hands-on learning. Think about these three companies: Netflix, Airbnb, Uber. What is the common for all these three companies? The answer is they rely on AWS Global Infrastructure. That's fine, but how AWS do that? And that's the part we are going to explore in this lesson. AWS mainly solves two problems. Number one, single data center risk. Your application is running on data centers and something happens, power goes down and immediately your application is down, business loss, blah, 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 right? And also it solves second problem is slow global experience. Servers running in Mumbai, if user is sitting in New York, so they are gonna get the slow response. So these are mainly these two problems AWS solves. AWS distributes their infrastructure globally, no single point of failure and blazing fast, and you can architect globally for your application. Now you might be asking, what are the main building blocks AWS Global Infrastructure has? Mainly three building blocks. Number one is region, number two is availability zone, number three is edge locations. So let's explore one at a time, because these three are most critical in global infrastructure. The region is completely independent, own power, networking, cooling system. The region is a geographic area. It has its own power, cooling, and networking system. Problem in one region doesn't affect in another region. The example regions are US East 1, North Virginia, Mumbai, Ireland, Singapore, California, Oregon. There are many regions you can find in AWS website. Now you might be asking, how do I choose the regions? There are mainly four factors you consider before choosing a region. Number one factor is compliance. GDPR may require Europe regions, or data residency laws vary by country. So based on the data residency where law governs, based on that you choose that region. The second factor is latency. If users are in all near to the New York, definitely you're gonna choose the North Virginia. If users are all near to the California region, then definitely you are going to choose California region. Then you have a service availability. Not all the services are available in all the regions. Though the service you are going to use, whether that region has or not, based on that you choose that region. Then the fourth one is pricing. All the regions' pricings are different. California is more expensive than North Virginia. So consider that. So four factors, you choose the right region. Then building block number two, availability zone. So each and every region has a multiple availability zone, and availability zone nothing but it has a multiple data centers, two or more data centers, and each and every data centers has a separate power, cooling, and networking system. Even they have a different flood plane, and these data centers are in close proximity in that availability zone. So region has a multiple availability zone, two or more, and each and every availability zone has a multiple data centers, two or more, for redundancy. If you want to build your applications highly available, you deploy your application into availability zones. You look at this map. In this map, you see that region and availability zone. Basically, availability zone resides inside the region. So now you see how regions are spread across the globe, and based on your users or other factors, you can choose the region. Now building block number three, edge locations. These are data center infrastructure spread across the globe, and these edge locations serve actually billions of requests daily. If you're watching movie in Netflix, you're not getting from wherever Netflix stored the data in US East region or California region. You are getting the data from nearest edge locations, because edge locations actually caches the data, all the static contents, movies and other media files. It stores it for user so that the access is faster, no buffering. So that's how Netflix perform. Look at this diagram. This is about the region, and in this region you see 3 availability zone. It may have more than 3 as well, but each and every availability zone has a 2 or more data centers, and each and every data centers has a separate cooling, power and networking system. And you see the one availability zone connected to the another via low latency resilience fiber connectivity, very fast. Between the 2 availability zone, latency is less than 2 milliseconds. So now you know regions, availability zone, edge locations, the 3 building blocks of AWS Global Infrastructure. And you must know this, because when you architect your applications, you have to consider all of these. Let's say you're designing Netflix-like applications. So definitely you have to work through the edge locations. I mean the CloudFront. CloudFront actually leverages these edge locations, which is a content delivery network. Look at this map. In this map, you see that multiple edge locations, how they are spread across. Some edge locations resides inside the region, some are outside the region. Most of them are outside the region. And now you see how these edge locations are spread across globally to serve the user. Content resides near to the user so that access can be faster. So if you think all together, you see in the core AWS Cloud global backbone for services and routing. Then you have a regions, geographic areas like Mumbai or North Virginia or California or Oregon. Then on top, outer circle, you have availability zone and edge locations. Availability zones, data centers and 600 plus edge locations in this area. This is the way, logical way you can remember the backbone, region and the availability zone, edge locations, how they are related. Now let's talk about some real world scenario. Netflix. How Netflix solves their problem. Their problem was they had to serve 260 plus million subscribers globally, and they are spread across 190 countries. How did they do it? They chose AWS. They leverage the CloudFront, which actually in turn leverages the edge locations. They store the content near to the users in edge locations using CloudFront. That's why when you watch Netflix movie, there is no buffer. Instantly you get the response. And result 4.9, uptime, fast streaming and global scale. You as a Netflix didn't have to build that large infrastructure, believe me. Now the second real world scenario is Airbnb. The GDPR compliance, because Airbnb had to deploy their application based on the GDPR compliance, they chose multiple regions in different geography area and deployed their applications. And also they choose AWS Redshift for their analytical data, because they want to see how customers is renting. What is the renting behavior? The third use case is Uber. This is a real-time matching. 1 second of latency, you get mismatched rides, right? That much critical it is. So applications are deployed in multiple availability zones. Also they have leveraged the local zones as well for ultra low latency. So Uber is one of the key example. They use heavily AWS, Airbnb and Netflix as well. If you are preparing for the AWS certification exam, you follow this, otherwise you ignore this slide. So for the exam, they test region versus availability zone. They are not same. Remember, availability zone resides inside the region. Minimum number of availability zones, generally 3. Region selection factors are compliance, latency, service availability and pricing. Based on these key factors, you choose the region. Then edge locations versus region. CloudFront uses edge locations and store or caches the data near to the user so that the service will be faster. Remember the multi-availability zone and multi-region. When you want to make your application highly available, you go for multi-availability zone. But if you want to build your disaster recovery site, you use multi-region. Even you can deploy your same application in multiple regions based on that other criteria such as user locations or compliance reason. These are all fine, but most interesting part I want to show you, which goes beyond your standard AWS Global Infrastructure concept. So AWS owns largest private fiber optic network, over 9 million kilometers of physical cable, enough to reach the moon 11 times or more. The more infrastructure than any telecom company on earth installed it. Because of that, there are multiple alternate routes. Any cable breaks, you know you have another routes available for your application. That's a huge added advantage. The another interesting fact what AWS does, probably most of the users don't know, what users are using is a standard region. AWS also has a special region for the government and secret agencies, which you and I don't have access to. And AWS also built air-gapped cloud platform. They started in 2014 and now supports 11,000 plus government agencies and running their application load on these air-gapped cloud platform. You and I don't have access to this infrastructure. This infrastructure you cannot see or access publicly. Now let's understand one of the most interesting part about edge locations. They are hiding in the plain sight. They actually serve billions of requests for the user. They caches the data. Route 53, CloudFront, and Global Accelerator leverages these edge locations to serve user data faster. These are all fine, but I think AWS is doing cool stuff too to improve their global infrastructure. I want you to know this. Number one is power bottleneck. Because of the AI era, data center equipment and gears became really compact and their power consumptions increased a lot. That's why the standard power system is not going to serve them, and that's why they started investing on small modular reactors to serve their regions. This adds up to their global infrastructure. The second coolest thing they're doing is proprietary silicon. They have introduced Graviton 4, Trainium, Inferencia 3 and Nitro card. These are all proprietary hardware. That means using the off-the-shelf hardware, you cannot build your data center. So the cloud platform data center built by AWS, they are proprietary and they are continuously investing on that so that business get benefit. The third coolest thing AWS is doing, off-grid and sovereign cloud. They started building sovereign cloud requested by government and agencies. Only they can access, and they are air-gapped. They are connected via satellite, so you and I cannot access it. And this is for the specific purpose and compliance and security reason. And tactical edge devices sync via satellite in fully disconnected modes. So these are the three coolest thing AWS is doing, and which adding their global infrastructure as well. And at the end, you and I as a customer will get benefit. Drop a comment below if you are preparing for any certifications or where you wanna go with AWS. I will love to see them. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about something which is going to change how fast you can grow on AWS. I have built a private community called 10x AWS Builder, and it is not just another Facebook group or Discord server or WhatsApp group with a lot of noise. This is focused and professional community built specifically for people like you, people who are serious about building their AWS career, passing their certifications, getting hired or promoted to the next cloud role. Here is what you get the moment you sign up. Weekly live Q&A calls. Ask me anything about AWS, certifications, jobs. This will be live Q&A weekly sessions. I hold that Zoom call and you get answer instantly, and we can brainstorm as well on your problem, and you get direct mentorship. I will personally help you to build your learning roadmap, your certification path, fix your gaps and keep you accountable for your goals, and I will guide you on this every step of the way. Third thing, you get 24/7 community access. At night 11 PM you got a questions, just post your questions. questions. Our community never sleeps. Someone from your community member will answer it. And you get peer network of serious AWS learners. The people who join 10x AWS Builder, they are not here to watch passively. They are building, certifying, and landing cloud jobs. And that energy is contagious. Link in the description below. I will see you in the community. So recap, 5 things we have learned in this lesson. Number 1 is region. This is independent geographic locations. Choose by compliance, latency, services, and pricing. Then you have a availability zone. Availability zone resides inside a region. These are isolated data centers within a region. Multi-AZ is always high availability. Remember, if you want to have your application highly available, you deploy the application in multiple availability zone. And third thing to remember, edge locations. These are the locations data center infrastructure spread across globally. Some are inside the region, most of them are outside the region, but they caches the data and serves billions of requests for the user, and they store the data for user near to the user. Then fourth thing you remember, regions are isolated. Data doesn't replicate between the regions automatically. What you have to do, you have to configure separately if you want to replicate the data between regions, especially for the DR scenario, disaster recovery scenario. Then fifth things you must remember, multi-AZ versus multi-region. So highly available applications require multi-AZ deployment. And if you want to build a DR, then probably go for multi-region. Also, you can go for multi-region if there is a compliance reason, you want to store the data particular region for the country's governance, you can do that too. Thank you so much for watching this video. That's all I got it. I will see you in the next piece.